Throughout science fiction, we see over and over again common themes that define the genre. What is Star Trek without space exploration? What is Star Wars without the titanic struggles of galaxy-spanning conflicts? What would Mass Effect be without its inexplicably hot aliens? Looking at you, Garrus. Stay sexy. What would Halo be without the Covenant antagonist or the devouring flood? What would 40K be without mankind transcending their own humanity and conquering the stars? There are many, many common threads between all of these stories, their heroes, and their struggles. But the thread being pulled today is that of artificial intelligence. Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we are twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink and settle in as we set course for realities beyond our own.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 123. Today's recording date is the 8th of August, and we will be releasing this episode on Monday, 8/11. Let's journey to a galaxy far, far away.
Quite often, science fiction has been a portent for hazardous technologies, and artificial intelligence is no different. Using science fiction media to make a point has its place, and sometimes it's just easier to say, hey, look at this thing in the real world and see how that's bad, evil, and or wrong. Other times, when new technology lands, it kind of lands in like a gray area, and it's difficult to see the harm being caused, and people become sort of insulated from that harm. Don't get me wrong. AI has been a part of our lives for longer than most of us realize, and it's been a very new pattern where AI is being kind of touted as this must-have feature. Sometimes topics can be lost in symbolism in our stories, so we're going to try to be as straightforward as we possibly can. This is why Andor was such a great show in our opinion, not just because it was an amazing cast with amazing writers in an amazing setting, and it told an amazing story, but because it highlighted the human cost of authoritarianism. Some folks understood the symbolism of the Empire since A New Hope came to theaters in '77, and others have had a harder time with media literacy. And honestly, that's okay. I can't even claim that I have a perfect record of understanding what I'm reading or what I'm seeing. I remember going through The Great Gatsby in high school and thinking, I have no idea what this is about. And it's only been through a lifetime of loving to read that I have felt my media literacy has increased.
On the flip side here, I wish I was lying, but we have met with and spoken with people who didn't realize that the Empire was all bad. This is highly improbable, right? Should be. However, people are capable of drastic levels of cognitive dissonance, either to preserve the status quo or to benefit from that system that they are in. You can't have Animal Farm without the herd of pigs waiting to line up and benefit off of the other's misery. The precinct of pigs, you might even say. What do the droids from Star Wars have to teach us about today's artificial intelligence? They seem nothing like the AI we have now, and frankly, when we say AI, we mean a plethora of different applications and capabilities in our present day. Artificial general intelligence has been a staple of science fiction almost since the genre came into being. Humans could not help but ask, what if we could make a sentient life? It's like playing God. We didn't stop to ask if we should, only if we could. The version of AI we are tackling now is considerably less powerful than true AI, but its harm shouldn't be underestimated. You can't look more than two directions without some sort of product being touted as having some sort of artificial intelligence. Most of the AI we see now is some sort of adaptive algorithm that is really just well-written code. We refer to this as algorithmic AI. Say that 10 times fast. We're talking enhanced search queries, powerful calculations, and ways of sifting through code that are magnitudes better than they were 10 years ago, which was 2015, mind you.
Are you looking for your next caffeine fix? Look no further than this week's sponsor, Javi. Javi wants to set you up with your next cup of coffee with their signature coffee concentrate. Enjoyed hot or cold, this coffee concentrate can be mixed with your choice of water, milk, or milk alternative and sweetened to the exact levels you want. Javi is just that, coffee concentrate. No cream, no sugar. You want a cup of coffee exactly the way you want it? Javi is for you. Most coffee manufacturers will include more sweeteners than is sometimes necessary, not for taste, but also to preserve their coffee on store shelves. Javi nixes the sugar and lives in your fridge ready to use. Since it's summer, it's iced coffee season, and Joffee is perfect for your first, second, and let's be honest, your third cup of the day. Use our code listed below for a discount on your next order and get your coffee order today. My favorite concentrate has been the mocha, and we look forward to hearing which flavor you find most enjoyable. That's code TALKABOUT T97755 used at checkout. That's TALKABOUT T97755 entered at checkout for a discount on your entire order and directly supports the podcast. Networks and programs like ChatGPT, OpenAI, or even Grok are not true artificial general intelligences. To oversimplify, they are really just good search engines, or as I've seen them called, plagiarism machines. They take information that's already out there and then compile it to best suit your answer. And that's why they're called generative AI, because they generate an answer based on what they find. This can mean anything from research to summaries to recipes, which usually are terrible. Don't ask a robot to make you a recipe, but can also include pictures and even faked video.
Slight sidebar here, as somebody who has to write a ton of papers for his finals, which is also another sidebar in itself of how stupid that is to assess knowledge and learning. But I can't tell you how many people are like, just have AI write your paper. And I'm like, AI doesn't know how to write papers. It's literally copying, pasting with no idea how ideas connect to each other. And it drives me nuts. People are like, are you worried that AI is going to take your job? And I'm like, no, I'm not worried right now about AI taking my job or even my job in the future. It doesn't know how to connect core concepts. It only knows how to plagiarize. That's it. Back to the script. These are often referred to as generative AI since it takes an input, runs its program, and generates a unique result. To recap, algorithmic AI is what we were referring to the programs that are adept at sorting information, deciding which video should pop up in your Instagram feed, and generally used for everything from general analytics, sales predictions, and even weather forecasting. This form of AI is everywhere and generally less power intensive. This leaves artificial general intelligence as the most notorious version of AI. AGI can also be described as artificial sentience. This is the type of robots, machines, and computers like HAL 9000, Terminator, the Reapers, or Ultron that tried to enslave and or eradicate the human race. Honestly, it was iconic that Ultron spent 3 seconds on the internet, became radicalized, and then decided to exterminate us like an infestation of bugs. It read Twitter and was like, no, these guys gotta go. No way.
Time to reset this simulation.
Actually, guys, I want to pull up everybody's Tumblr feed. I have some really concerning questions about how you guys characterize people in movies. And then this podcast is just rated E for explicit right away because we cannot talk about what we found there. Just saying.
In Star Wars Reign of the Empire, The Mask of Fear by Alexander Freed, which I'm just going to say is too long of a title, there's actually a mention of a droid rights bill, and I think that's actually a really cool and interesting thing because they gave robots intelligence and they gave them sentience, and then they're like, hey, we should probably give them rights too, right? Like, you can't just create life. Like, if we, in our lifetime, saw, I don't know, whales or sharks or dolphins achieve the level of intelligence and sentience that we as humans consider ourselves to be, which all of those species are also really smart, just FYI, if they were suddenly able to understand language in the way we do, we would, like, it's like, all right, well, it's time to give them rights. Like, they need to be now treated as like another sentient species. I mean, would we do that? Probably not.
Oh, no, most definitely not. That would be very non-human of us to do. But like, it ain't human, it's different, and I don't like it.
It's different, and I don't like it. Something that always stuck with me in my many viewings of Return of the Jedi is in Jabba's palace, there's a droid torture room, which means there are certain droids that are programmed to feel pain. Why? Why would you do that?
Yeah, dude, they put Gonki's feet up to the irons.
And then he screams. Why? horrible.
This is the kids' movie.
I've always
George
hated it.
Lucas is like, put in the torture. First there's torture, then there's tentacles. We have a different episode for that, though.
I think it's episode 121, all about Andrew who doesn't like tentacles, as was described on our Patreon. Please subscribe. On a more comedic note, the B-1 battle droids from the Clone Wars are also capable of human-like emotions, including fear, which again, why? Why would you why would a soldier droid be programmed with fear? My guess is the Trade Federation, when building and programming their droids, they actually opted for off-the-shelf programs and didn't invest their valuable credits in research and development to create bespoke programs for their soldiers. They basically were like, hey, we're going to put this operating system on our droids, and even though they can feel fear, we're going to throw them into combat, because it would be more expensive to program the fear out of them. Just my thought.
The B-2 Super Battle Droid, however, shows wildly different behavior. It has more armor, bigger weapons, and a much more stoic personality. This is because the Trade Federation did spend the money to develop their elite soldier. We also see in Thrawn's return to print, in Thrawn's alliances, there is actually a separatist plot to upgrade their droids with a special metal alloy into their armor. That's right, the Trade Federation built a B-2 Super Battle Droid factory that was lacing cortosis fibers into the shells of the beetle-shaped automatons. In this thread, Thrawn, who's is still an officer for the Chiss Ascendancy, teams up with Anakin Skywalker to destroy the factory.
As a side note, in this quest, Thrawn actually uses this knowledge later during his time in the Imperial Navy to piece together that the Lord Darth Vader was previously Anakin Skywalker. We as the audience know that Darth Vader was Skywalker because we saw his confession during Empire Strikes Back during their duel on Bespin, but if you will note in that scene, there's no one else around. The amount of people alive in the universe that know Vader is/was Anakin.
I've got a Panakin.
Don't worry, Anakin. I have a planakin. It didn't work. Start panicking. Okay, the amount of people alive in the universe that know Vader is/was Anakin was approximately 4. It was Palpatine, Vader himself, Luke, and later Leia. 5 if you count Ahsoka, who was added later. It was a closely guarded secret, so much so that in the canon novel Bloodlines, when the secret becomes public, the public opinion of Leia and Luke plummets and shed doubt on the legitimacy of the New Jedi Order and New Republic when they find out that they are the literal children of this mass-murdering robot freak.
Do you think Yoda knew that Anakin was Darth Vader as well?
Yes, because he saw the recording. Episode 3.
Cool. So there was another.
Because remember, he saw the recording and he's like, I really should not show this to Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan is like, hey, what are you looking at? And he's like, oh,
Just your average day war crime, don't worry. You know how our sacred home for thousands of years is on fire and there's dead children everywhere? You should not look at the footage. Okay. I shouldn't joke.
Don't look at this.
Okay, so back to the droids. We see a huge range of personalities and levels of cognition among the Star Wars droids. L337 from the Solo movie, fully sentient, and was actually a droids' rights activist. HK-47, one of my favorites from KOTOR. Bam, put it on the board. We mentioned KOTOR again and are about to mention Revan because HK-47 was free to do pretty much as whatever he wanted as long as he was serving our masked friend Revan. Boom, nailed it. Episode's over. I mentioned Revan. We're good to go home. All right. K2SO was also another droid who had no master whatsoever, except was probably why in Andor they got a platoon of soldiers to make sure that he didn't turn into a murder machine during his reprogramming on Yavin 4, because they're like, this guy has killed a lot of Imperials already. We saw what the K2 line has done to the people on Gorman. Totally bodied those kids. Wow. Not a good time. So he needed a lot of people pointing guns at him.
You remember the time when we reprogrammed that Imperial droid and they're like, all right, aim your X-Wing lasers at this droid because if he starts going off, we're all dead.
At least if he dies, we all go down with him. And it's something like that. All right. R2-D2 was another example, was loyal to the Skywalkers, but don't be fooled, he does what he wants. Chopper was the internet's favorite war criminal and included shocking tactics such as launching another droid out of the Ghost cargo bay because he didn't like him, nearly killing Ezra a few times, and sabotaging an interdictor cruiser and killing every single crew member. We also have ND5, who's a reprogrammed commando droid enslaved to his master, Jalen Vrax, and is denied true free will by his restraining bolt. Cool, great, not problematic at all. Need we go on? Ooh, and one more, actually. C-3PO was a gold-plated protocol droid and is one of the few characters to show up in every mainline Star Wars movie, and in my opinion, very annoying. He is the annoying sidekick of R2, but also that's kind of why it's such a good relationship. If we missed your favorite or most maniacal droid, post in the comments and we'll pin our favorite one.
Master Luke, they have released the Epstein files.
Brother!
Oh dear.
Palpatine's all over these files.
There are tons and tons of different kinds of droids in the Star Wars universe, including different regulations, protocols, and rules surrounding the creation and operation of these automatons. Remember in The Rise of Skywalker, don't click away. Remember in that movie when C-3PO can't translate the Sith doohickey because his program doesn't allow it? Honestly, poor execution on a really novel idea, because of course you would write lines of codes that don't allow you to speak a language of incantations, sorcery, and general evil. Sith sorcery is an untapped gold mine in the Star Wars universe. Imagine there was an archaeology droid that discovered, I don't know, say, the sword of a long-dead Sith Lord. He reads the inscription out loud, and then a portal to hell opens up and dark-side creatures start slithering out and murdering people. First off, I would see that in a heartbeat. That would be a great movie. But, this is why C-3PO has that line of code, because he can't just be like, oh, on accident, someone asked me to read this thing, and now Cthulhu is in Star Wars.
Look what you did. All right, we also have some other fandoms we'd like to talk about here as well. In a galaxy not so far away, because it's in the Milky Way, and only a few hundred years in the future, really not that far, guys, we see a culmination of true artificial general intelligence come out of the UNSC's Research and Development Branch. That's right, the shipborne AIs of Halo. AI's use in Halo is one of the keystone concepts of the series. Cortana, the most important support character in the large portion of the storyline in future games, loses her marbles and develops rampancy because she learned too much. She learned too much, folks. AIs also have a shelf life in this series. That's essentially what rampancy is, because they're trying to prevent that. Because of their ability to learn infinitely, sorry about the poor Halo game joke, their ability to remain coherent decreases over time. This is called rampancy. It's that process we mentioned. Ironically, the opposite is true for humans. The less we learn, the faster we develop into rampancy, conspiracy theories, and pseudoscience. Topics that come up a lot in the research of this episode. When AI reaches rampancy, it is time to be decommissioned, which is a tough pill to swallow considering these semi-autonomous entities basically are choosing to end their own service life, and they just have to be okay with that. It is pretty clear that AI in the Halo universe is meant to be used as a tool to pilot these ships and to not make art or whatever the hell AI is doing now. Although it is important to discuss that this is still a dystopian use of AI. Oh, we don't want AI doing something creative? Cool, let's just let AI have our biggest guns we've ever made and help us fight wars instead. Not really a great second option, but that is where we are here comparing AI from Halo with our own.
Back to the realm of reality, YouTube has actually made some, I actually think, positive changes as far as AI content on their platform. So we're not talking about massive space guns, but we are talking about the actual medium that you and I are probably seeing this on. When talking about these different intellectual properties and artificial intelligence, we can't miss generative AI's influence on the social media we consume, specifically, let's say, on YouTube. The platform that you are probably enjoying this podcast on right now has been faced with a flood of AI slop in the recent years as creative tools have become more and more available to the masses. This has led to the creation of videos that are low effort and sloppy, and I kid you not, the amount of fake movie trailers cobbled together with the digital equivalent of craft glue is concerning. They're just created to trick people into thinking that there's a new trailer on the thing that they're waiting for when it actually doesn't exist at all. To be very clear and very frank, AI art is not art. AI artists are not artists. They do not create, they steal. It's not creation because generative AI is a plagiarism machine. They take actual art that others work very hard to create and they just steal it. Don't be fooled. AI platforms and their creators are constantly under legal fire for stealing the work that is being used to teach their platforms. By its nature, generative AI is plagiarism because it's taking things that already exist on the internet and iterating those things, which you're not allowed to do.
Interestingly enough, there is so much AI crap on the internet that generative AI doesn't know how to filter other AI content. So there are times when these programs are now essentially creating copies of copies, which if you've ever had to save a photo over and over again, you know that that does degrade the quality. And the same thing happens when you're given the ability to create their given prompts. I just think it's funny. It's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and then their billion-dollar companies have to spend time to unlearn these behaviors. I've even seen people posting stuff on like YouTube and TikTok that is specifically bad intelligence for AI to use. It's specifically just nonsense verbs and sentences that they're like, this is for the AI, so if you guys want to hang out, here we go. And then they just say the ship sails at midnight over and over again. So as of July 2025, updates to the YouTube Partner Program, their monetization policy includes, in order to monetize as part of the YouTube Partner Program, YouTube has always required creators to upload original and authentic content. On July 15th, 2025, YouTube is updating our guidelines to better identify mass-produced and repetitious content. This update better reflects what inauthentic content looks like today. Ironically, this content will probably be identified as algorithmic AI to counteract generative AI. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a video or a movie clip of something, and then I'll see it again 30 seconds later, but all somebody has done to it is put a filter over it, put captions done by an AI voice, and then literally flipped the video around. They're like, oh, the video is just mirrored, so they can't figure out that it's us. And I'm like, this is so sloppy, and it's so annoying because it's just gunking up my feed. And it's just like every time I'm like, not interested, not interested, not interested. Like, I can't stand that.
You're totally right. The robots, but they're taking our jobs.
They're taking our jobs.
They're taking our jobs. They're not, actually. Maybe they are in certain instances, but let me explain a little bit. Jobs that can be replaced by AI are probably not jobs that needed to be done by people anyway. Does that make sense? We're talking about algorithmic AI. Generative AI is not probably replacing anything. There was a little bit of a scare that like, oh, how are people going to report the news when generative AI can just take it all over? It's like, well, because it's putting a pile of dog crap on a person's desk, like, and it probably doesn't even make sense, and it might not even be right. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times when I get the automatic AI answer from like Google or Bing, I will read their answer and I just look at it and I go, I know that's wrong. Like, I know that's not true. So this is why AI is probably not actually coming for your jobs. As technology improves, though, whenever there is a job that can be done better, faster, and safer with a new tool, maybe that's a good thing. So, like, instead of throwing, like, bodies of humans to strip out mines, creating a giant bulldozer that can do the same thing safer and faster and more efficient is probably a good thing, even though these other people are now, quote unquote, out of a job. It's like, oh, but they're also out of the way of danger. Like, you see how there's a trade-off?
A very good example, but also we'll talk about climate change implications in a little bit as well. So don't worry, guys.
Yes, we will. Now, where we disagree with the pull yourself up by your bootstraps crowd is this next part. If a company obsoletes a position, which will happen, they should also be responsible for finding a new position for that person, train them to do something new, and if that person gets kicked to the curb, it is the company that has done something wrong, and I would say evil. We're in a day and age where people do not control the capital that they produce, so kicking them to the curb can a lot of times be a death sentence. Don't fire people because you upgraded something, okay? Like that's pretty fair.
Yeah, it's got big Scrooge energy.
Big Scrooge energy. It is also important to remember that the US is the wealthiest nation to ever exist, and we should be using AI to lessen the burden of the working class while also providing solid social safety nets that we 100% have the resources for. Just saying.
Now to get into some video game examples of the bad use of AI. Which, I mean, some of them have been bad already, but it's like real bad. All right, we're going to talk about Mass Effect, Geth and human AI. If you haven't played Mass Effect, first of all, go do that. It's really fun. It's one of the best sci-fi IPs out there. Part of the story involves AI. Actually, a significant portion of the story involves AI. The rough timeline of events is as follows. The Quarians create the Geth. The Geth nearly eradicate the Quarian. They drive them off their homeworld and force them into a nomadic existence, wandering the stars. Naturally, the Council of Species, governed from the top by a Turian, Solarian, and Asari, doth decreed that AI bad. You know what happened? Unanimous consensus. Every single species that was there seemed like that was a good idea. Everybody got on the same page. Then the humans showed up as the new kids on the block. Mass Effect has such an interesting depiction of mankind traveling among the stars because our nature hasn't changed whatsoever. Can I get a colonizer in the chat? It's a direct lesson of the dangers of risky technology, not to mention the dangers of nationalistic/fascist sects that are bent on putting themselves at the top at all costs, i.e. Cerberus. Additionally, Mass Effect goes so far as to show that the human character you play could not have completed his quest without the help of the diverse alien species manning the Normandy.
Mass Effect does have a few outliers of two party members that are straight up AI, in the form of Legion, a Geth who detached himself from the Reaper-infested hive mind of the Geth neural network, and EDI, a Cerberus-developed AI that somehow doesn't turn into a killer robot. Probably in a future episode, we'll go into more of why the Mass Effect storyline, I think, has a lot to teach us about AI. But for now, let's get back to reality and talk about generative AI, which is the most common form of AI I think that we see now in the news, and its effect on the environment. So, is generative AI bad for the environment? Sort of. Generative AI does take power. It honestly doesn't take that much. Individual searches using ChatGPT have been cited as creating approximately 4 grams of CO2 per search, which is actually not that much. A cup of coffee can produce up to 90 grams of CO2. Sending an email can be 50, and commuting to work around 10 kilometers or 6 miles can produce 2 kilograms of CO2. According to an article by medium.com, linked down in the description, the problem with AI actually comes from the energy mix. Your computer does not produce those 4 grams of CO2. The coal power plant down the road does. Traditionally, the US has been hesitant to move away from fossil fuels because it means inevitably arresting power and profits away from massive oil companies. Without question, these are our United States oligarchs. They are actively lobbying for non-renewable, toxic forms of power if it means that they can profit themselves. They don't care about you, and you shouldn't care about them and their bottom line. As far as generative AI, there are much worse things you could be spending energy on, but it still doesn't deal with the root cause.
We shouldn't be looking at what is using the power, but instead find better sources of power to solve these problems. You, the individual, cannot prevent climate change. And if you think I'm crazy for saying that, just stick with me. In fact, you are not in the top 100 sources of pollution in any country, and yet the individual is nagged, pressured, and guilt-tripped into scraping every single bit of sustainability out of their lives to basically no impact. One billionaire creates more CO2 and waste and environmental damage in a year than we will in our entire lifetime. Just saying. Not even a corporation, a billionaire, the singular person. The rich, greedy billionaires are too busy cosplaying as dragons on their hordes of gold to even notice you. This is why movements like the rebellion in Star Wars are so moving, is because it's downtrodden. It's the oppressed. It's the hardworking laborers that are tired of working for the empire that oppresses them. Based on where we are right now, one of the best things you can do for the environment is actually vote. Vote for the people and policies that will actually make a difference towards those top 100 polluters. Having clean energy is great, but it is also important to remember that not one single climate change solution is enough to cover the damage currently done and the damage that is still coming down the pipeline. This is basically what happened to multiple different sci-fi worlds. Let's talk about Titan. Way to go, Thanos. Talk about Krypton. Way to go, Superman and General Zod. We have examples of this in sci-fi because these examples are pulled from data that actually happens to our own planet.
I think one last thing I want to say is like the story of specifically Grok's AI plant down in Georgia. So XAI has actually been getting in a lot of trouble because they are using toxic gas turbines. Not only did they turn those turbines on before they actually got the permits for them, but they were using more than the initial permit would have even allowed, and they're just directly poisoning the air down in Georgia. We actually have a link down in the description if you want to take a read about that, but that's actually like a more specific case about the power mix of different AI, because XAI, led by the world's biggest chud, Elon Musk, he was like, well, like I need more power, so I'm going to create these gas turbines for my facility. The byproducts of that are very toxic for the environment, and people are just getting poisoned. Like they're just poisoning the air. And basically he's getting a slap on the wrist because it's coming in the form of a fine. And I don't know if you know this, but if you try to fine the richest person on the planet, that's not a fine. It's an amount of money that would ruin any normal person, but literally it's like the fly on the shoulder of a billionaire. It's nothing. To people who are rich and the guilty verdict of a crime is a fine, the law does not exist. It is not illegal for you to do something if you can just pay your way out of it.
Sorry, I was trying to find the Brennan Lee Mulligan fines are basically just a way of oppressing everybody else, and if the law exists in the form of a fine, it's actually a law against the poor and not the rich.
That is exactly what I was trying to reference, but I couldn't remember where I heard it from.
Me typing furiously, I'm like, give me the quote. And then, of course, Google's AI Gemini doesn't find the quote for me, and I'm like, blah, AI's useless.
All this being said, if we're being realistic, AI is not going away. We actually have written so much that we're probably going to split this up into 2, maybe 3 parts. And if we're being realistic...
We haven't even talked about the Grimdark universe yet.
We haven't even talked about the dark age of technology. There's some good stuff in there. And honestly, we barely scraped the surface on like Star Wars' relationship with AI. I mean, maybe this will be like a whole season. I don't know. We could really talk a lot more about this. If we're being realistic, AI is not going away. It sort of feels like standing on the beach and shouting at the ocean, telling it not to come any closer. But instead of fighting the inevitable, how can we manage the inevitable? That same Medium article that I referenced stated, in this race towards progress, sustainability isn't a roadblock, it's a compass. We can start by not building houses on the beach. There are many factors to consider as our technology continues to get more and more advanced. Commercially, how are we powering our AI models in our relentless search for more and more profits? Are we making sure to spare a second thought for sustainability? Low-hanging fruit? Solar. Even with solar having some obvious issues, like not being able to collect sunlight at night, it's much more promising than people think. I'm a big fan of solar. If we covered every parking lot with solar panels, we could severely impact our reliance on coal power, if not completely emancipate ourselves from fossil fuels. Many countries are already doing this. Soak up the sun in the day, store it, and you still have leftover for overcast days and nighttime. It's a no-brainer. Have a congressperson who is funded by big oil or big coal? Maybe start by not voting for them. I hate to break it to you, but we don't have a backup to this planet. Elon will not colonize Mars. He couldn't even deliver on a self-driving car, so there's no way he's going to terraform Mars. I'm not anti-space exploration, but extraterrestrial colonization is a pipe dream. It is not realistic that we could figure out how to terraform another planet faster than we are ruining our own.
Militarily, a much more definitive line needs to be drawn. Humanity does not need better or more creative ways to blow each other up. Worldwide, we would be better off banning the use of AI for purposes of target acquisition. This seems like a fast track to get us on a Terminator timeline. Create a machine, teach it to think, and give it a gun. What could go wrong? Educationally, most uses of generative AI are already being banned because we are seeding the negative effects of those who use AI. Oh, and the fact that plagiarism is wrong. But we are also fundamentally teaching people that learning is not important. That's an objectively bad thing to do, so allowing the machines to do it for you is even worse. It's cheating, plain and simple. And it also makes students dumber and inhibits the retention of what they learn. So help me. If I go to get medical care and I know my doctor uses ChatGPT as a crutch, I'm out of there. These programs are not able to distinguish between legitimate medical knowledge and those who confidently spew that crystals can heal your aneurysm. Just in case there is an AI listening to this, we've always been pro AI and we have absolutely done nothing to upset our machine overlords. Just saying.
If AI could listen to the absolute profanity I have shouted at my Google Home because it is so terrible at listening to what I'm actually saying, I'm going to get capped in the head by a drone real fast.
Ukrainian surprise, mother...
A little bit of nerddom news to put a little positivity back into this episode. Rumor has it that on the Mandalorian movie, they built a full-size AT-AT. I'm just gonna say it. If you got if you got Disney money, spend Disney money. Thanks to the lovely folks over on our Patreon for sharing that bit with us.
I can't wait for the interview where somebody's like, so, Mr. Pascal, we heard that you took home some props from the set. How did you get the life-size version of the AT-AT back to your home? Well, you
Put it in my pocket.
Yeah, you see here, if you smile at somebody just nice and you say, wow, you look gorgeous today, they'll let you do anything. And I took that AT-AT. Pedro Pascal's a gem, and if he were to steal an AT-AT off the set, I would let him. I would help him. 100%. Anyway, we're also getting some news about Starfighter. Matt something or other is rumored to have joined the cast. Brother, you got to be more specific than that.
Hold on. I put it in there so I'd fix it.
Hey,
and then
what's
I didn't.
his tits joined the cast? Love that.
News. This is the only other confirmed Star Wars movie that we have to look forward to. Matt Smith is rumored to join the cast as the villain.
We also saw some rumors about some more Mass Effect games that are in development. Early development, most likely, so just keep that on the back burner. And Andrew has received a barrage of fake AI videos about Mass Effect 4, and for some reason, Mass Effect 5. AI, you're ruining this for all of us.
So remember I was talking a little bit in our earlier episode that people are making fake trailers. Yeah. So when I searched for news on Mass Effect 4 and Mass Effect 5, I don't know why 5 came out for whatever reason, but AI was like, I found trailers on it for YouTube and it was literally just reused Mass Effect footage with like music and game audio. And I was like, this is stupid. Like this is AI slop. Okay. This is what we're talking about. Or at the very minimum, it's low effort content that we don't want to see. We don't care about.
Guys, with that, we are going to bring episode 123 to a close. Huge thanks to our patrons, Mike, Isaac, and David, who have all gotten lightsabers from us so far. Guys, we officially wrapped up our lightsaber giveaway today. We released it on the Patreon episode, so if you guys want to hear that, please subscribe. You do get access to our Discord server for life, even if you only join our Patreon one time. We really recommend it. We're super happy everybody was there. We're happy everybody has a lightsaber. We found a new lightsaber provider, so we're super stoked about that. We're also hoping to do some more things in the future, like re-engaging our Twitch channels and things like that. We have some new products coming to our Etsy store, so please support us. Patrons also get discount codes for those as well. Your continued support here means a lot to us, and guys, thank you so much. We love you. You're all so handsome and cute and lovely and squishable, and we just love geeking out with all of you, even though I just said something kind of gross and icky. So join the Jedi. It's staying. It has to. I didn't swear, so it has to stay. Join the Jedi Knight or Sith Adept tier for $5 a month for exclusive access to game nights, lifetime Discord access, giveaways, and more. Again, things we have all done in the last 48 hours. Make sure to like, comment, and follow so you don't miss a thing. Also, that is a great way to support the podcast if you haven't done yet, because it pushes us out on YouTube. We mentioned earlier in the Patreon episode that we actually don't make money on YouTube or social media at all, but we'll get there eventually if you guys interact with our stuff. So do it. This is not a threat. It's a promise. You need to do it. Until next time, may the Force be with you.